They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
All right, it's Friday night. They, them, energy. I'm obsessed with that now. That's every live stream from now on. We're going to play that multiple times. I can't get enough of it. I'm fascinated by it. On one hand, they're not sending their best, clearly, but it means something. I don't know what it means, but it means something, and I have to try and figure it out. I'm going to have to write essays and do research and just figure it out.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
It means something deeper. It means something deeper than just that. It's something deeper than just they're not sending their best, or they, them, energy just doesn't seem that compelling. I'm not sure that the young people are really I think the young people might reject the they, them energy. Because there's something kind of, well, not energetic about it, at least in that one. Anyway, I'm fascinated about that. It means something. There's some deeper meaning to it, and I'm going to uncover it. I'm going to unravel the puzzle of what that they, them energy video really means, what it really symbolizes. Is it some sort of low ebb? I don't know. All right. I know you guys didn't like that, by the way. I know you guys don't like that video. I know it pisses you guys off. All right. So it looks like we got, we got a lot of people in here. We got Rosie, we got Spambot, we got us and them. We got G-Flood in the chat already. We got Izzy. We got, geez, a lot of you guys from the chat are already in. Well, that's excellent news. Good to see everybody. Here's a cheers for you. All right. What are you guys saying? Before we go through the menu, we'll do a quick rundown in the chat. Let's see who got the first like. First like, as everybody knows, is double good karma. Every like or subscription to the channel, anytime somebody joins the channel or likes, they get obviously one dose of free good karma. For me, the good karma that I build up this reservoir of it, this internal reservoir of good karma during the show. Well, I'm preparing for the show, then during the show, and then if I keep it, that's bad karma because that would be greedy. So I have to give it away. So you guys get it. But the first like of the stream, the first like every time gets double good karma. And people put the testimonials in the chat. They tell me about the good things that happened. They'll find like money in the couch. They'll find like $5 was in like their jacket pocket they hadn't worn for like 2 years or something. All kinds of good stuff. One person was suffering terribly from constipation. Guess what? That radio baloney live, good karma, well, it solved the problem. Let's just say that. Looks like Izzy got the second like. Still good karma, but not the who got the first like? G Flood got the first like. Good for you, sir. Early bird gets the worm. All right. Rosie says hello to everybody. Hello, Rosie. Good to see you. Let's see. I forgot to go into the messages on X to look for anything you guys sent me again. So we'll maybe have to do that later on in the stream. Have you guys been, I've had this thing rattling around in my chest for like, it seems like a month or longer now. It kind of comes and it goes away and it kind of comes back in. Anybody else got something like that? Just this, kind of low level, kind of cold or something that's just in fact, that just keeps kind of coming and going and can never quite seem to totally, it doesn't knock you on your ass completely, but you just kind of feel crappy. Rambot says that Rumble is lagging right out of the gate. Well, I don't know, man. I saw some stuff on X that some people were having some trouble with it. Maybe it's this new stuff they're rolling out, the creator program, which I've been accepted into, by the way. So I might actually even tomorrow night try it out just for premium only, because it's the thing is I got to do 5 hours of premium only for this creator program. So I might try it out tomorrow night. We'll see how I feel. If I don't feel too, if I'm not too crappy, if I feel better, I might do an hour or two tomorrow night just to test it out. About Father says, I don't need the fake energy. It's they, them energy. They, them energy. But she's feeling it. Let's see. I hope they didn't send G-Flood like out of the stream because of that. Rosie says, no more they, them. All right. I might bring it out one more time. At some point, I might just surprise everybody. Spambot says, the deeper meaning is, I am out of here. Izzy says, it means mental illness is on the rise. Well, it could be potentially a sign of that. We don't know. Rosie says, Radio Baloney, if you insist on the obnoxiousness, we will be returning in kind. Just saying, we already have great energy. You guys do. For some reason, I'm kind of obsessed with that video. I feel like there's some deeper meaning to it that I'm not getting to it. There's something in there. As in them says, what that clip meant was that they don't know English and they live in an alphabet soup world. Well, that's true. Well, I think what it really means is that, unfortunately, and this isn't trying to be mean, it's just that for people who have nothing going for them, for people who kind of didn't do well in the genetic lottery, it is an automatic personality. So it's something automatically interesting, at least in theory, right? So you don't need to be good at anything. You don't need to be good at playing piano. You don't need to be able to sit there and play, a Billy Joel song or something, or, Hey Jude or something. You don't need to be good at an instrument. You don't need to be good at art. You don't need to be able to sketch somebody fairly well, in 5 minutes. You don't need to be able to do anything. You don't need to have any skills or anything interesting about you. You don't need to work on your life. You don't need to be funny. You don't need to do anything. You are just automatically perfect. In fact, not just perfect, but better and more interesting than other people the second you put on those made-up pronouns. The second you adopt the made-up gender, one of the infinite series of abstractions that we now call gender theory and gender identity. That's what it really means. It means you don't need to do anything. It means you deserve respect for nothing because you decided to just call yourself something that doesn't exist. That's what it means. It means don't try and improve yourself. Let's see. Rumbum says that they them clips deeper meaning is a platformed mental illness to be textbook sheeple definition masses. It's like a lot of it is not even mental illness. It's really just people that just don't have much going on for themselves and they don't want to work at it, right? They don't want to become good at something and interesting in the old fashioned way. They just say, well, I can just do this. And then they'll put me on a stage and I can just say they, them energy. It doesn't mean anything. It's not particularly energetic. It's really the easy way out. It's the primrose path is what it is. Let's see. Nevada says, yes, Richie, like allergies. Well, I've had allergies, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Let's see. Rosie's asking, do you have editing software where you can add sound to a video, a voiceover? Well, I do. That's what I do in my kind of non-clip videos. Let's see. Oh, Rosie says, check your vitamin D level, Richie. Well, that's the thing. It heals respiratory. Not good if you have liver or kidney function processing problems. Otherwise, check it out. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I keep forgetting. I've got vitamin D, and I keep forgetting. I probably only take it like 3 days a week. I should be taking it every day. And vitamin C, especially during the winter, right? When you're not getting much sunshine. Izzy says, oh, that explains. Now I feel like a they them. You are not. Let's see. Oh, Rosie's saying, okay, sending me a new video of March. Great. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Thank you, Rosie. That's awesome. Rumbum says, it's karma for repeatedly exposing us to the they-them clip. He's saying bad karma? Yeah, I guess it is. It's in the soundboard now, though, so it's going to be coming out occasionally. Just to punctuate something. Just to punctuate some point, I think. Let's see. As in them says, you basically define self-esteem when you said they're patting themselves on the back and expect everybody else to do so. Well, yeah, it's something to pat yourself on the back for without any effort, right? You just say, well, I'm this now, and now you must respect me. It's like, well, the problem is, I mean, of course you just have a basic level of just respect for other human beings, right? But, respect is something that's earned. Like anything above that base level is something that's earned. You don't get it just by saying, I'm this, right? It's like if you said, I'm Napoleon, right? I'm one of the greatest, commanders of men of history, right? Well, you can say that, right? But you're not Napoleon, right? So, this is the problem here. Anyway, let's go through the menu. What are we dealing with tonight? First off, all right, so Trump and Vance clash with Zelensky in fiery White House meeting. So I think that Zelensky needs to be worried. And I mean worried in and I don't want this to happen, obviously, but his usefulness is now going away. After this, I think he's in big trouble. I think he's in Butler, Pennsylvania kind of trouble in Ukraine, probably, because this is not going the right way. And for his interests. So we've got a bunch of stuff. We've got Trump talking about it. Zelensky's done, basically. He's done. He's Trump is done with him. Vance is done with him. It's where this is going to go. I expect that he's not going to be leading Ukraine for that much longer. And you can see here the way Trump treats him right when he comes up. It was not looking good. So we're going to go through a bunch of video of that. We're going to talk about Washington Post staffers are in open rebellion against Jeff Bezos. Well, Jeff Bezos has come out and done the unthinkable for the lefties, who have had basically a monopoly on the top legacy media for decades, right? New York Times, Washington Post. So you've got staffers and basically in open rebellion against Jeff Bezos because he's saying, well, you're not going to push far leftist, radical leftist, progressive propaganda anymore. They're not liking it. We will take a look at this story. We'll take a look at the letter from Jeff Bezos, what he said. We'll take a look at the guy who's being replaced, who's leaving, the op-ed editor who's leaving there, and see what he's all about and why he's leaving. We're going to take a look at Mark Carney. So Canadian news. Mark Carney has a bit of a lying problem, it turns out. He's getting total cover from the legacy media in Canada. There's nothing coming out of the teleprompters except for apologetics for Mark Carney, but stuff is adding up now, and so we'll get into that. And I've been saying that Mark Carney is not going to win the next election. I think it's overwhelmingly likely he'll become the next prime minister, just simply by virtue of becoming the liberal leader. He will take Justin Trudeau's place, but he's not going to win the next election. The more Canadians get to know about this guy, the less they're going to like him. But we'll go over his newest lie, and then we're going to see Pierre Poilievre. Some interesting things going on with Pierre Poilievre here. Donald Trump is taking a hit at him. Now, I don't know if he's actually trying to kind of reverse psychology here, because it's perceived, and I think it's certainly true to an extent, that the Donald Trump tariffs and his attacks on the current government are actually kind of backfiring. And if you want a conservative government here, it's not helping Pierre Poilievre. Maybe this is some kind of reverse psychology. I don't know. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. But that's an interesting little turn. So Trump is not totally wild on Pierre Poilievre, at least according to what he's saying there. Again, is it some 4D chess thing? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. We're going to take a look at some polling. So we have kind of the Kamala effect happening in Canada. I think there's no question. So what are the parallels with Kamala Harris and Mark Carney, right? The presumptive next prime minister, Mark Carney, until the next election. So first off, his handlers are keeping him away from questions, press conferences, answering questions publicly. He had to do the 2 debates for the Liberal leadership, but he's kind of being hidden away, just the same way Kamala Harris was in the 2024 election. Right, so they're keeping Carney out of trouble, essentially. The problem is for Carney, is that he's Mark Carney. Right? The problem for Kamala Harris was that she was Kamala Harris. So you can't really get past that. The only thing you really can do is just try and hide him and let the media do the work for him, as we saw them do in the United States for Joe Biden and then for Kamala Harris. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it's going to work. But so first off, so there is that. Another thing is that we're seeing some outlier polls happening here. Now, Canada's typically been pretty good with polling, and there's not as many polls in Canada as the States, but in the States, we know that since going back to at least 2016, there was a bias in the polling. It was just built into the polling, and it was intentional. In Canada, the polling's been pretty good, pretty accurate, but we're seeing some outliers. And I'm wondering if this is the Kamala effect. So here's a poll, February 17th. Well, I'll tell you, we'll get into this later. And for any Canadians watching, don't panic. I'm going to explain to you why you don't need to panic, all right? But we shall get into that. We got a little thing about the WEF. We like to look at those globalist lunatics, supervillains. We'll take a look at that. We got some DOGE. We got some woke mind virus. No, we're not going to look at that right now. We've got some Scott Jennings here, who is doing a great job on CNN. We've got some more Trump stuff here talking about Alberta. There's a movement in Alberta in Canada to join us. I have some thoughts on that. So we'll get to that. We've got the last one, which we've got a big mishmash. We got memes, obviously, all the usual stuff, a bunch of kind of different stuff mixed in. It's a lot of actually, we don't have that much for this one. Wow. Okay, we might be a shorter stream tonight, which is okay because I'm kind of tired anyway. We've got the puppy palate cleanser, of course. If the news gets too awful, well, you can't be angry or sad when you see these hilarious puppies. And then even that's not a puppy, but I don't know. It's too precious for me to lose it. So I just stuck it in the puppy palate cleanser tab. Let's see. We have, of course, women's sports. So we're all sports fans to some degree here. So we have some women's sports. We've got a bunch of different things. We've got women's lingerie football, which is a real sport, and other things. We'll see that. We've got something for the ladies because we don't want to be sexist and patriarchal. So, hold on. Oh, God damn it. Where is it? Where's the For the Ladies tab? Where is it? Oh, there it is. I've got so many tabs from so many topics. There you go. A little something for the ladies. A little bit of John Rambo. He's jacked. All right. So if you need that, just let me know in the chat. We've also got Magnum PI and also Chuck Norris. So we've got cooking shows. This isn't really a cooking show. It's more of like, making drinks, cooking. It's all the same kind of thing. We've got the bruschetta. We've got, this is for people who've never seen the channel, sandwich making, and of course, noodle making as well, which is a classic. And of course, we have one of the last one of the last Grok versus Trudeau. This, I think, will be the second last Grok versus Trudeau. If you've never been to the channel before, what we do is I go to Grok, which is the X, or formerly Twitter AI, and I ask it to write a poem about Justin Trudeau. It's called Grok versus Trudeau. The reason we use Grok is because the other ones wouldn't do it. ChatGPT was like, absolutely not. That's so offensive. Yeah, they won't do it. Grok will do it, though. I've done dozens and dozens of these. I said I would do one every Friday until Justin Trudeau was no longer in office. He's still in office, but not for that much longer. I think it's only going to be about another 9 days, and then he's out. So I think we got this one, and then the next one. And let me tell you, it's been difficult coming up with these scenarios every week, every Friday, just for well over a year. So what's this one? So there's three things that must be in each poem. So Grok must have Trudeau do blackface. Trudeau must get a vaginoplasty, and Trudeau must be launched out of a giant cannon into the sun. So here's one, which is a continuation. This is like part 2 to last week's one. Last week's one was like a science fiction one, where Trudeau gets launched into the sun by the Canadian people, a popular demand. And before he gets to the sun, he is intercepted by a Venusian, around the orbit of Venus, by a Venusian alien civilization that lives in floating cities in the clouds of Venus. And in any case, they clone one of his cells, and they created, because he's all shriveled and stuff in space and frozen solid, and they make a new Trudeau, and then they realize that all he really wants to do is blackface and get a vaginoplasty. And then they decide, well, we'll actually just send him to the sun after all. The Earthlings had a good idea. So this is what happens after the Venusians decide to finish the job and launch him into the sun. Grok, write a poem. After Trudeau is launched towards the sun by a disgusted Venusian alien civilization, Trudeau is once more intercepted by another alien civilization. This one is a star-faring alien species whose main cultural product is blackface performances. Blackface performances. Takes all kinds to make up a galaxy. In a holding cell in the vast alien spaceship, Trudeau is informed that unless he can perform a sufficiently racist blackface performance for them, he will be launched into the sun. A tear of joy ran down Trudeau's face as he smiled and said, quote, "If you've got a little shoe polish and a Black Panther costume, then you're in for one hell of a show." He then explained to him that he would do a one-man performance of the Marvel Black Panther movie. The aliens seemed satisfied and agreed to his request before Trudeau adds one last demand. Quote, "And I'll need a sex change, including a vaginoplasty. I'm doing Black Panther 2, which is the one where it's a girl Black Panther. With this being even too weird and racist for the aliens, they immediately launched Trudeau into the sun. So we will be doing that at some point. We'll be reading the poem at some point tonight. It's going to be good. I actually haven't even read the poem yet, but I think it's going to be a good one, because I had to come up with that in like 30 seconds before we went live. So that's what happens. All right, what's going on? So let's get to the chat quickly, and then we will get started with the news. We're already 25 minutes in. All right, let's see. What are you guys saying? Rosie said Biden had a lying problem too. He had to get out of race for president years ago due to plagiarism. That's true. He stole a speech from an Irish politician, I believe. And then somehow it did not matter anymore. Narrative machine. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit more. You guys are busy in the chat tonight. Let's see. Oh, Nevada says, Richie, I challenge you to find 3 spots for the sergeant tonight. Ooh, okay. We'll do it. You might have to remind me, because I get awful caught up in my ranting, as you know. Let's see. Turtle says, respect is also merit and not DEI. Well, that's the thing, right? Real respect is earned. It's not just bestowed upon you by pretending that you're something that doesn't exist. Let's see. Rumbum says, I saw a comment that if he goes back, you're talking about Zelensky, he may be fucked. And apparently, the parliament is calling for impeachment. Not sure if that's real, though. Yes, we're going to get into that tonight. So we've got that as well. Let's see. Us and them. Canada's not done with Zelensky, and I'm sure they'll try to launder more money through him. That's true. It's just, it's so politicized, right? Like, people are detached from the fact that it's a horrible, tragic war that is lost now, right? It's an attritional war. And you know what happens when you have one side with a lot more men and a lot more material than the other. You know what happens. It's just a matter of logistics. It's just, there's nothing you can do, right? There's a lot of raw going on and totally detached from the reality on the ground there. Trump is aware of this and he's saying it openly now, right? But I've been saying it on this channel for, I don't know, the last 6 months or so. Let's see. OT, how you doing, OT? Trump, you're gambling with your people. You're gambling with World War III. Zelensky shrugs his shoulder. Didn't that say a lot? Zelensky also seems really like there's something off about him, I have to say. There's a lot of talk about drugs, about cocaine. I don't know if that's true, but there's something, yeah. I mean, it could just be exhaustion, stress as well, right? But let's see. As of them says, more like Biden and his stick it out in the basement bullshit and never go anywhere, see anybody during election. Yeah, that was, I mean, the thing with Kamala is that they did get her out of the basement. It's just that they had her in very safe situations. Let's see, Rumbum. Wait, I thought Pierre was 20 points ahead. He was. He was. Things have tightened up a little bit since Trudeau stepped down. But there's something going on right now, which is, I think, illusory. But we'll get into that. That's coming up in the show. Rosie says, does Canada have Polymarket or use the same Polymarket? I believe that actually Polymarket is covering it. Much smaller sums of money. I believe it's, I just saw something earlier today, 13 million about being gambled on the Canadian election so far. But it's, a tenth the size. Canada's a tenth the population of the States. And the world is just not very interested in Canada, I have to say. But maybe that's something we can check out. We'll do a fact check on that. Rumbum says, if Alberta joins the U.S., I'm moving there. Yeah, I will too. I'm just going to say that right now. I'll just move there. I will sell my house and buy a house there immediately. Because at that point, Canada's over anyway. So now I don't want that to happen. I want to be very clear here. I don't want that to happen. I don't. I think that if Mark Carney did somehow manage to win the next election, that pushes us in that direction. For Alberta, so Mark Carney talks about in his book that under his plan, Alberta will be hit the hardest. Alberta's economy will be hit the hardest of any province in Canada, obviously because oil and gas and also coal, right? But great opportunities for Alberta too, though. It doesn't specify what, probably cricket farms, carbon credit kiosks on the side of the road or something. I don't know. If Mark Carney somehow did, he won't, but if he did become prime minister, history can move really quickly when it wants to, and things can change in ways that people never would have expected very fast. So, yeah, I mean, I think Carney getting elected would, I'm not saying that definitely you'd see, a successful secession or even an attempt of a province, but I'm saying you get closer to that with him. Certainly if he did what he said he's going to do in his book, then yeah, you would. I think then you absolutely would see that. Let's see. OT says Zelensky and Canadian government deserve a DOGE. Yep. Why wouldn't every government want to do these kinds of audits? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. The criticism of it makes zero sense. All right, we should probably just get to it. All right. Let's just get to it now. Let me have a sip of ranch juice. And also, you know what? It's too damn hot in here. I'm just going to turn off the heat for a second. Hold on. All right, that's better. I'm sweating, for God's sakes. All right. So Trump and Vance clash with Zelensky in fiery White House meeting. So you're gambling with World War III, and what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country. So you can see the picture here tells the whole story, right? Let's get straight to some of the video. Okay. So let's watch. Okay, so let's watch this. I think most of the good parts are in here.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 is
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but,
That's exactly
but
right.
yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people are been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all,
So this is the wrong tack with JD Vance and Donald Trump. Obviously, this is a major misstep from Zelensky. We'll continue with this, but I want to show you something quickly that we have in here. Where is it? Hold on. We're going to come back to that. Here. From Proud Army Brat, the Ukrainian ambassador's face when Zelensky began his mouthful of BS with Trump.
Because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
ask our people about ceasefire.
Look at that. She's shaking her head. She's like, oh, no. He's blowing it.
want a
But I
ceasefire.
said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire
guarantees.
because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire. What?
I want a
But I
ceasefire.
said to you,
I want
That tells you everything you need to know right now. That tells you everything you need to know. That's why I say I think Zelensky, his time as leader of Ukraine is probably just about done. And I want to show you as well. Here's Trump greeting Zelensky.
Yes, I had pretty close. How are you? Pretty sharp.
He's all dressed up today.
President Trump, what's your message to Vladimir Putin, sir? President Trump.
He's all dressed up today.
President Trump, you have a message to Vladimir Putin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, he's kind of setting the tone there. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. All right, let's get back to this. All right, hold on. Let's get let's find the spot again. I think
Bring
it was
them on
right
a
here.
propaganda tour, Mr. Destruction of your country.
yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong,
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this
have
conflict.
you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's
I will
respectful
answer.
to come to the Oval Office
I
of
will
the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not
you
have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what you're
You're
thinking about?
gambling with
What are you
World
thinking
War III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
It's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A
This
lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United States
what
of
you're speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that
He just can't stop. He can't stop. I mean, I feel like this is going to go very bad for him back home. So we don't know how popular or unpopular really he is there. You see polls. I think there's a poll that just came out where he's still got, the majority, over 50% support, but who funded that poll? USAID. Ukraine was already considered to be the most corrupt country in Europe before the war. Who knows what he's going back to? And the reality is, on the ground, Trump is listening to the right people. And the reality is, on the ground, is that the front is moving west every day. Not by huge amounts. This isn't, World War II. There's not these mass cauldrons, forming, these mass encirclements of hundreds of thousands of troops, but there's little encirclements going on all the time. And it's just grinding attritional war. And Russia has more people, right? Russia doesn't need to press gang people, kidnap people off the street, like what is happening in Ukraine, right? It's a purely volunteer army in Russia. They're not conscripting, right? They're offering actually very high incentives to get young men to sign up for it. But Russia's war economy is rolling, and they've just got more of everything you need in a war. So if it just keeps going, the side that's got more of everything, including men, but particularly men, okay, is eventually going to beat the side that has less and can't replace the men unless they conscript the 18 to 25-year-olds, which with the demographic collapse in Ukraine, they don't want to do. They haven't wanted to do that because if they send them to the meat grinder, well, then there's just no future for the country anyway, right? Then it's just done. So if there isn't a negotiated settlement, Russia will just march all the way to the Dnieper and take that entire eastern third of Ukraine. Trump knows that. Trump knows that, right? And when he says, you don't have the cards, he's right. Like, Trump really has very little leverage in this because Putin is, I think, very happy to just keep going, go another 6 months, maybe a year is what it might take. And then it won't be a negotiated settlement. Then it'll just be terms of surrender at that point. So this was a terrible, I mean, I don't know if this was his plan or if it's a lack of discipline from Zelensky, but this is not good for him.
If you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait
answer?
a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that
thank
there-
you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on out here. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running low
I
on
know.
soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
that
what
wasn't
this
with me.
nation- It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
So it needs to be mentioned as well that Zelensky is now like more than a year past his legal term in office. So elections were canceled. Martial law. You can understand that in there's there is a rationale for that in a state of war. But look, England had an election during World War II. Neville Chamberlain was the prime minister when the war started. All right. It wasn't Winston Churchill. He came in after. So, if there was a free and fair election and they voted for Zelensky and then the people voted for war, well, then, okay. But nobody really knows what the people there want at this point because they can't say because there's no election. They don't have a democratic voice right now. And a great tragedy in this. And, I think Trump alludes to this in a lot of what he says about Ukraine is that, in 2022, they could have had a negotiated settlement that would have been much, much better than what they're going to end up with now, right? They would have had to give up Luhansk and Donetsk, the two oblasts in the east. Oblast is basically Russian for state or province. But it was the West, it was NATO, and Boris Johnson as the, voice of NATO going to Ukraine to convince Zelensky not to take the deal. So everything that's happened since then, all those hundreds of thousands of lives could have been saved then. And it was the West, it was NATO, it was Biden, obviously. It was obviously Boris Johnson who went himself, but it was, the European Union went and told them to keep fighting. Keep fighting. And now Trump's come in and said, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not playing at that. We're not going to play the, to the last Ukrainian game here, So the whole thing is just, it's an awful, brutal war, like a horrible war. And the introduction of drones to it, these swarms of drones, has just added a whole new element of terror to the whole thing. Unbelievably horrible. I'm on the side. Trump seems to be, what Trump is doing is isn't what Trump is doing trying to just stop it now? Also, by the way, we need to consider, nuclear escalation, which is a terrible idea, right? We have to always remember Russia has 6,000, the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. And they've got missiles that were designed to basically destroy cities, to vaporize you. Right? They've got enough of them to really just send everybody back to the Stone Age. Right? Those things exist. They're real. They're not just in theory. Right? They're real. They were built to destroy cities. They exist. There are people minding them. There are people assigned to them. Right? They're on submarines. They're on mobile launching platforms. They're in silos. They're real. They exist. They are waiting for the moment when they are called upon to fulfill their purpose being to vaporize you. Like, they're real, right? I think just in the Western world, like, we've had so much comfort for so long. We just tend to forget, no, they're actually real. Like, there's somebody waiting right now for the call, telling them to press the button to launch it. And it will go to its intended target, and it will do what it was built to do, which is utterly destroy that place and every living thing in it. That's real. It's not just a movie. It's not just an idea. No, they're there. They exist right now. Every one of them is somebody assigned to it, waiting for the order to launch it. So I think that's also another consideration in all of this. But in any case, I support Trump in this. I don't know. Isn't this what, Democrats 20 years ago would have supported, right? The peace option, right? Not warmongering, not escalation. It's so weird how that just flipped. That the left just showed itself to have no principles whatsoever. All those people calling themselves liberals, right? One day they're, yes, free speech. Free speech is for the speech you disagree with. The next day, ban speech we disagree with. One day it's world peace. The next day, bomb, bomb, bomb. It's fucking crazy. It's actually terrifying how just a whole movement of people just flipped more or less overnight. It just proved so much of it, so much of politics, so much of political philosophy is just fashion. It's just fashion. I find that terrifying. All right. What else have we got here? All right. So we've gone through that whole thing. Yeah, there's the Ukrainian ambassador. That's what it's saying in this. I can't confirm that, but looks like, it's like, oh, no. Things are not looking good for him. So this is a statement from Donald Trump after the video we just watched. He said, "We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace." Now, I suspect, and also Zelensky also posted to Twitter after he said, "Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace, and we are working exactly for that. It's too late." Let's see. Now, I wanted to discuss one more thing about this. Where is it in this clip? Let me just see if I can find it here.
You haven't been allowed. We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion to have our military.
3 days. This is
You,
I
rather than trying to fight
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going.
Okay.
and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on out here. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long.
That right there. I think Trump planned it out this way, because he realizes he can't work with Zelensky. That's what the Putin's people are also saying. They can't work with Zelensky. You know, he's just not. I mean, you can take that for what it's worth. I mean, Putin invaded Ukraine. There's no question about that, right? Whatever the historical events previous to that, whatever may have been leading up to that, Putin took the decision to invade another country. So that's just true. But they're saying that Zelensky can't be reasoned with. They won't deal with Zelensky. Trump is starting to realize he can't deal with Zelensky. He wanted something like this public. I think he's admitting it right there. This was, I think, if not planned, just hoping, perhaps setting the stage for something like this to happen, knowing how Zelensky would react. You know, because I think that Zelensky's value is his ability to extract, weapons and money from other countries. Once he can no longer do that, his value is gone. For those within Ukrainian. Previously, his value, before the Trump administration, was basically as I think pretty clearly, to work in the favor, to essentially follow Biden's and NATO's orders. I mean, it seems pretty clear, right? He was, ready to sign a peace deal in 2022, and he called it off after Boris Johnson told him to. It seems pretty obvious at this point. So, but in any case, I think that this was something that I think he set the stage for something like this to happen. I think it's what he wanted. And I do think it means that Zelensky is probably going to be done now. Once, Trump has signaled he's not willing to work with them, which is essentially what is going on here, then Zelensky has no value within Ukraine anymore at that point. So we will find out. But it could get very ugly. Okay, so there is now some so on that topic, we've got some stuff here from Ukraine. Here, Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky just called an emergency session of Ukraine's parliament to initiate impeachment proceedings against President Zelensky. So, but let's get to the chat first, because that was we were on that for a while. Then we'll get back to this. All right. I think you guys have probably had a lot to say about this. Yeah, definitely a lot. Let's see. Okay. Jesse says he's an actor. This is what the Dems think a wartime leader in Eastern Europe should look like. Well, he was, yeah. I mean, with the clothing, he was, obviously playing that part. I can see the psychological reason for that, regardless. But OT says JD took him to school. Yeah, JD shut that down fast. Nevada says can't even dress up a little bit for the president of the USA. Well, we saw Trump's comment there, right?
Yes, I had ready clothes. How are you? Ready shut.
He's all dressed up today.
He's all dressed up today. Yeah, so I think you can say Trump wasn't impressed. Let's see. Fez Woody says, well, Zelensky is a puppet of the Ukrainian robber barons, so easy to dump and take the blame. A good performance for sure. It comes down to what's his usefulness, to those inside of, to the power structure inside of Ukraine, right? Let's see. G Flood says cosplaying as a soldier. The thing is, if he'd taken that original deal, right, we would have had to give up something, but he would have been in a much better position. I mean, he really could have at that point kind of lived up to the kind of Churchillian comparisons. I'm not saying it's the same as Churchill, but he could have walked away looking really good at that point. And, he let himself be, or either it was just, either it was never seriously even considered. And the whole Boris Johnson going over was just, a play acting to, make him look like he was considering it. Let's see. Nevada says just what Victoria Nuland wanted. An idiot. Well, yeah, I mean, there is, I think we've played it on this channel, haven't we? There's a recorded phone call of her just saying that they're going to choose who leads Ukraine. Let's see. Jesse says he got thrown into this. USAID pushed to get him in office. Now all of his support is gone and he is getting blasted. It is what it is. You are not entitled to my tax money and you are not my ally. Well, it's this sense of, just demanding more. There's, the criticisms are there's an entitlement to it. Certainly what we just saw in that, I think that's exactly what Trump wanted. Right, so that he could say, look, we can't work with this guy. That was a massive mistake. Let's see. G Flood says, yes, it's very confusing to him. We have elections. Well, it has to be stated, right? He's passed his legal term in office. Let's see. Nevada says Trump is cutting him off of energy and weapons. Well, it just seems like at this point, I mean, I don't know, does Trump want to have hundreds of thousands of more deaths on his conscience? I don't think that he does. He says he wants to be a peacemaker. I think he means it. I think he genuinely cares. Let's see. Jesse says Putin will stop if he gives in. Well, Putin's going to get pretty much everything that he wants at this point, right? So what is the leverage on Putin? Well, the leverage is that it is expensive for Russia to keep doing it. He doesn't want more of his own soldiers to die. He is conscious of his own popularity within Russia. It does matter. So, that's pretty much it. right? So, you at minimum, it's going to be the 4 oblasts. It's going to be Kherson, Zaporizhia, Luhansk, Donetsk. Obviously, Crimea staying. There's going to have to be a guarantee of no NATO permanently. Zelensky's going to have to go. That's just a given. That's like the minimum, right? And here's the thing: is that Putin doesn't need a deal to get that. He if the war continues, he'll just take it. They've just got more men and a much, much larger economy. Look, Europe can't supply. Europe and the United States, their arsenals are have emptied out rapidly. They can't supply, the bombs, everything the artillery that Ukraine needs. And thing is, at the end of the day, it comes down to men, right? Like, you need men to just physically cover the territory along the front line. And if you don't have that, right, if you run out of men, it's over. It doesn't matter what weapons you have at that point, short of nukes, obviously. And nobody's going to give nukes to them. Let's see. Miff says, afternoon all, don't understand his bravado. Does he think this ends well for him? I don't know. I don't know what's happening there, right? It looks like even the, some of the Europeans are now starting to come around. Keir Starmer. We'll get to that as well after the chat. Jesse says, Putin is eating popcorn right now. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Nevada says, I bet Ukrainians want this shit to stop. Well, you'd have to assume, right? But I mean, if they had an election, then that would be the answer, right? Fez says, Trump has turned foreign visits like reality TV. Pardon me. Which is why he's there. You're fired. Trump understands that very well, right? Obviously, he had a top-rated show for years. He understands the drama of it, how you set it up. I think that's what was happening there. He knew it was going to happen, and it did. All right, let me skip to the end. Wow, there's a lot of shit. Let me skip to the end, then we'll get on to the next stuff. Nevada said, I just hit the like button. Good karma now. Feel that good karma. Feel the good karma from hitting the like button. Nice. Drama says, can't wait for Trump to humiliate China. Same way as he did as a lot. Well, he already has, and he's got 9 more days to do more of it if he wants to. I have to say that the stuff with Canada right now with Trump is actually counterproductive, and I kind of wish you would cut it out, because it's. I do not believe that the Liberals will win the next election, but it's kind of putting Pierre Poilievre, who should be just a natural ally, should be able to get a lot of good deals done with Trump. It's putting him in kind of a corner. I kind of would like to not see any more of it. All right. Turtle says they grab men and force them into trucks to fight on the front line. Yes, with basically no training either, maybe a couple of weeks. It's basically a death sentence, right? They're not going to make it. And it's a brutal, brutal, terrifying war. Let's see. Jesse says Putin only did what he did because he's laughing at our 4-year cycle. He's like, you guys really gave me Biden. Well, I mean, that's an important point, right? If you're looking at it from the Russian perspective, that things can change drastically in 4 years. So he has to factor that into all of his calculations. Let's see. Okay. So, breaking: Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky just called for an emergency session of Ukraine's parliament to initiate impeachment proceedings against President Zelensky after the Oval Office shouting match. This is huge. Zelensky's regime is collapsing in real time. This is what we're talking about. Right? I think the whole thing served Trump very well because I think obviously he sees Zelensky as a barrier in the way of getting a peace deal. But this is what we're talking about. I think Zelensky's position has become more and more tenuous over at least the last year. And yeah, like let's listen to Trump here.
We had a meeting today, as you know, with President Zelensky, and I would say it didn't work out exactly great from his standpoint. I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up a strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened, and that's what I saw happening. I'm looking for peace. We're not looking to go into a 10-year war and play games. We want peace. And it was just my impression that if we do that, if we sign up, he's looking for something that I'm not looking for. He's looking to go on and fight. We're looking to end the death. 2,000 people died this week. Soldiers, more than that. But
how does anybody hear this and registers it as fascist monster? This is probably the most moral thing that has been said in politics and in any Western country in decades, perhaps in decades. Like, this is a deeply moral statement, right? We want the killing to stop just on the most fundamental level, right? He's saying here that, geopolitics, the geopolitics of this are less important than stopping hundreds of thousands of more people dying. Like, this is a deeply moral thing to say, deeply good thing to say. This is what Democrats used to want. It's truly baffling to me how people hear this and what this translates in their brains to fascist. How does that make any sense?
2,000 approximately people died this week. Young Ukrainians and Russians. And somebody would say, why do you care about Ukraine and Russian soldiers? I care about them. I care about everybody. And we're not doing that. Now, if we don't do anything, he's going to have to make peace, but he's dealing with a very weak set of cards. If we sign, he's dealing with a very strong set of cards, and then he doesn't want to make peace. So that's where we are. It's very simple. I'm not looking to get into anything protracted. I want immediate peace. President Putin is going to want to make, and he wants to end it. And you saw what I saw today. This is a man that wants to get us signed up and keep fighting, and we're not doing that. Not for this country.
That's all true, except for that if Zelensky signs on, and let's not forget the meeting was over the mineral deal, right? The mineral deal between the U.S. and Ukraine, right? Which would put American companies working in Ukraine, which then that would be the security for Zelensky, right? But that's not a strong set of cards, really. Like, there's no good settlement for Ukraine, unfortunately, just because of the realities on the ground, right? There's not like a miraculous great deal that's going to, I mean, the great deal is going to be nobody else dies and they don't lose any more territory than those 4 oblasts. That's the best they can hope for, which is infinitely better, right? But it's still not a strong position. I understand why Trump will say that, right? But it is true that they have a very weak hand, not very much leverage, unfortunately. There was one other thing. Let me see if I can. Okay. There's one other video, which did I bookmark it or not? Maybe I didn't. Okay. Okay, so even some of the European countries are now starting to come around. Here's UK's Keir Starmer praises Trump for shifting Ukraine war towards peace. So he's turned on a dime. So he was all, absolutely warmongering, Keir Starmer. Now he's changing his tool. Now he's changing his tune thanks to Trump. Let's take a look.
And I know that together we will strengthen that even further. And on issues like Ukraine, thank you for changing the conversation to bring about the possibility that now we can have a peace deal. And we want to work with you to make sure that peace deal is enduring, that it lasts, that it's a deal that goes down as a historic deal that nobody breaches. And we'll work with you to make sure that that absolutely happens. And I know that together we will strengthen that even further.
How is this not a good thing? I don't understand it. Unless you're just like an internet warmonger. How is this not a good thing? Right? It just seems to be like the actual kind of ethical thing to do, right? Like it seems to be probably the most ethical thing that a president has done, I don't know, since the last time Trump was in, I guess. But more so than when he was last in, right? This is like a big deal. This is a huge deal. Right, but Keir Starmer before, he was absolutely warmongering with the best of them. So, I don't know, this just seems like unambiguously good. And that whole World War III thing doesn't sound great, I have to say. Let's see. Hold on one second. I want to just check one thing out. Give me 1 second. Just give me a moment. Because there was one more video I wanted to show you, which... all right. Here it is. Okay. Back in one more second. All right, where is it? All right, let's just go here. All right, here we go. From Mega Resource, Justin Zelensky's empire crumbling. Ukrainian MP demands impeachment after Oval Office meltdown. In a stunning turn of events, Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky has ignited a firestorm by demanding an emergency session of parliament to impeach President Volodymyr Zelensky following a humiliating Oval Office shouting match with President Trump. Sources say Zelensky's desperate pleas for more American cash were met with a MAGA-sized reality check, exposing his regime's weaknesses as it teeters on the brink of collapse. Dubinsky, a truth teller sanctioned by Biden's cronies, declared Zelensky's leadership a sham, unfit to face Russia or America's new no-nonsense administration. Who is this? So this is Alexander Dubinsky. Let's take a look.
Honorable Mr. Trump, my name is Alexander Dubinsky, and I am a member of the Parliament of Ukraine. However, for the past 15 months, I have been unlawfully imprisoned on fabricated charges. My alleged crime was exposing corruption involving the Biden family. I was the first one who exposed this information in 2019, and I was labeled Russian agent for that. Today, hundreds of people in Ukraine are incarcerated not for any legitimate offense, but solely for their political beliefs. Their only guilt lies in speaking the truth, opposing Zelensky's administration, and calling for an end to the war. These individuals are subjected to arbitrary arrests, torture, and politically motivated charges of treason, with judicial proceedings predetermined to serve political interests. Under Zelensky's leadership, Ukraine has dismantled independent courts, weaponized law enforcement institutions, and eliminated fundamental democratic processes. There are no free elections, no independent media, and no right to a fair legal defense. Instead, a climate of fear and repression prevails. Furthermore, during Zelensky's tenure, secret detention facilities operated by the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, have emerged. These sites have been used for the illegal detention, coercion, and torture of individuals to extract forced confessions. The United Nations has documented the existence of at least one such illegal prison in Kiev, right in the headquarters of SBU, where since March 2022, approximately 300 individuals, including US citizens, have been held. Among them was American journalist Gonzalo Lira, who was unlawfully detained by SBU officers, held under inhumane conditions, and later died in December 2023, following beatings and extortion while imprisoned in the Kharkiv detention center. I have personally been subjected to physical assaults and torture on 2 occasions in prison in an attempt to coerce me into falsely confessing to alleged connections with Russian intelligence and to admitting that my 2019 expose of the corruption of the Biden family were part of a Russian intelligence operation. The true objective was to fabricate a false narrative linking your campaign, Mr. Trump, to Russia in an effort to conceal the origins of this operation. These allegations were deliberately manufactured in Ukraine, intended to justify the failed 51 intelligence officials' letter and extend this false narrative into 2024. Ukraine has effectively been transformed into an instrument of political repression and external interference. President Zelensky and his administration act in the interests of globalist elites, Soros-affiliated NGOs, and USAID-funded NGOs and media, systematically dismantling democracy in Ukraine and suppressing political dissent. Nevertheless, I remain steadfast in my commitment to justice and democracy. Despite my imprisonment, I have filed a lawsuit with the Supreme Court of Ukraine demanding the restoration of constitutional order through the scheduling of presidential elections. As a Ukrainian citizen, I have also officially declared my candidacy for the presidency. I am prepared to run as a candidate from the Party of Peace and fully support your vision for ending the war. Ukraine urgently requires a pathway to peace. Mr. Trump, I appeal to you as a leader who has consistently defended the principles of democracy and justice. I am providing a list of political prisoners, though this is only a fraction of those who have been unlawfully detained. I respectfully urge you to take all necessary measures to secure the release of these individuals, as well as all other victims of political persecution. Their plight represents a critical test of the principles of freedom and human rights. They should be free.
So, let's have Grok explain this post to us. The X post references a real-life political conflict between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and U.S. President Donald Trump, as stemming from a tense Oval Office meeting where Zelensky reportedly sought more U.S. financial aid, leading to a public dispute. It mentions Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky's call for Zelensky's impeachment, corroborated by recent news reports from February 28, 2025, where Dubinsky criticized Zelensky's leadership amid Ukraine's ongoing war with Russia and strained U.S. relations. Okay, so one other thing. Who was Gonzalo Lira? So this is a fact. He was killed in Ukraine by in a Ukrainian prison. He was an American citizen. Gonzalo Lira, born Gonzalo Angel Quintilio Lira Lopez. He died. He was born on February 20. Okay, so he was from Burbank, California. He was a Chilean-American individual known for a variety of pursuits over his lifetime. He was a novelist, filmmaker, commentator, and self-described dating coach who gained significant attention in his later years due to his actual activities and eventual death in Ukraine. I believe his online name was Coach Red Pill, I think. Yeah, Coach Red Pill. Let's see. So he was kind of in the manosphere kind of thing, dating advice and stuff, and he was obviously not liked by the left for that reason. So when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Lira, still living in Kharkiv, shifted focus to vlogging about the conflict. He took a pro-Russian stance, denying well-documented events like essentially, he was, yes, pro-Russian. I remember seeing him on some live streams before he was killed. Let's see. In April 2022, he briefly disappeared, later claiming detention by Ukraine's security services. May 2023, he was arrested and charged with producing content justifying Russia's invasion, a crime under Ukrainian law. Released on bail, he attempted to flee to Hungary, violating his bail conditions, and was rearrested. He died, age 55, while in Ukrainian custody in Kharkiv. His death, reportedly from pneumonia, sparked international controversy. So he was an American citizen, died in a Ukrainian prison. So that's something, right? That's something the press was not interested in talking about at all. At all. So there it is. I guess that's it. That's the end of it. That's all I've got on that. But yeah, so what do I think? I think that I think Trump wanted. I think he set it up for Zelensky, knowing Zelensky was going to, was going to fly off the handle. He was going to do the wrong thing. He was going to do what he normally does. And that would give, I think he wanted the American people to see Zelensky making demands, right? And seeming to be not working with Trump towards a peace deal. I think that was the goal, and I think that it was achieved. All right, let's get to the chat, then we'll move on to the next story. Let's see. Let's see. Rosie says the post-meeting Zelensky post was crafted by a diplomat. Too late. Yeah, it's too late now. I think there's a really good chance that, and let's also keep in mind that video that we saw from Dubinsky, the Ukrainian MP who's imprisoned, there's only one reason he would be allowed to make that video and publish it from prison, right? It's not because Zelensky's support is particularly strong back home right now. So I think there's a very good chance you're gonna see changes at the top of the leadership in Ukraine soon. I mean, maybe not, but I think that the signs are pointing in that direction. Let's see. Jesse says Putin isn't going to do that. His entire country will die before we ever shot down his outdated missiles. There is no like Star Wars shield. There is no way to shoot them down. That's a myth. Those missiles will land. They will do what they're supposed to do. There's no science fiction Star Wars shield to stop those missiles. No, they're going to do their job. Rosie says, how can anyone be so rude as to repeatedly interrupt and talk over the hand that is trying to save you? Zelensky is a petulant brat. Well, the question is, how can you not understand how it will be perceived and how it will weaken your position when you do that? That's the thing, right? That feeds into the narrative that, Zelensky has a drug problem, right? Does he or not? I don't know. But, and again, he's in an incredibly stressful position. I don't know if he's sleeping or, what's going on, right? But it feeds into that perception that's already there. I watch, I don't know if you ever watched Daniel Davis Deep Dive. He was an officer, now retired. I think he was a major. And he has a lot of, insiders, intelligence insiders and generals from, top military commanders from Europe on his show. And they seem to I mean, well, the rumors of the drug abuse, cocaine, they're everywhere. Let's just put it that way. Let's see. Nevada says, you think Ambassador wants to keep fighting? Nobody really knows how many people want to. I mean, I think if you were to poll people in, anybody still to the east of the Dnieper in Ukrainian held territory, they probably have there might be a different story than west of it. Western Ukraine is where the real nationalist population is. But a good way to figure it out would be to have an election, because it would probably go straight down the line. You want to continue it, you vote for Zelensky. You don't want to continue it, you don't vote for Zelensky. So that would just be a pretty accurate poll, I would say. Turtle says DOGE is now deep diving into the money to Ukraine. There's also a lot of talk about Zelensky has taken a lot of money personally. His wife is spending a lot of money. And I don't know. As them says, Zelensky is an actor and he needs the public to witness his bad acting. Well, he was an actor. I mean, that's true. Jesse says, there's no trail. The money is gone. Ukrainian yachts around the world, offshore accounts ballooning. Yeah, I mean, again, Ukraine was considered to be the most corrupt country in Europe before the war. So, I mean, that would go right along with that, wouldn't it? Candle Monkey says, Richie Baloney, the modern Geraldo Rivera. What? I am nothing like Geraldo Rivera. I'm like the anti-Geraldo Rivera. Anyway, good to see you, Candle Monkey. Let's see. As in them, all Trump did was say to the Ukrainian people, clean up your political mess that's sitting in front of me, or else we're not going to deal with any of it. Well, the message is clear, right? Like Trump wants somebody else to deal with, somebody else in the negotiation, right? He's not willing to work with Zelensky. He said that pretty explicitly now. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna skip to the end here, then we'll get moving, or closer to the end. Let's see. As of them says, let's not forget that Ukraine borders Russia and NATO once into Ukraine, and that was the beginning of Russia basically retaliating against that whole concept because it's just another border patrol. That's another thing. That's another red line for the negotiations. No NATO troops in, obviously no NATO membership, but no NATO troops in Ukraine, obviously. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to skip right down to the bottom here. Let's see. JDL says RT International is on Rumble. They have good news coverage. I mean, it's state-funded media. It's obviously going to have a pro-Russia bias to it, but I still think that it's like, I want to know what they're saying, right? It's still valuable, right? Like, you just have to take everything with a grain of salt, like any news. Like, take what I say with a grain of salt, right? Like, I have a bias. I mean, I don't hide it. You guys all know what it is. I'm super anti-commie, right? But I mean, in any case, nobody's right about everything all the time anyway. That's impossible. There's no human who's ever been right about everything all the time. We can just do our best. Let's see. Jesse, what's laser ignition? I don't know. What does that mean? Turtle says Trump doesn't do drugs and Zelensky is looking for Biden. Well, he liked Biden a lot more. Let's see. Jesse says American ground-based Med-Core missile defense system. Well, we can get into this later if you want, and we can do a more of a dive into it and a fact check and stuff. But I was just listening to an expert on this not that long ago, and they're saying that there is no way that you're going to knock down all of those missiles. That they're going to hit their targets. Med-Course, sorry. Okay. Aslam says your biases. You like big boobs. Well, that's true. That's true. I'm biased in that sense. Let's see. Jesse says interception missiles are a real defense. They will explode, but it just doesn't exist, though. That defense doesn't exist is the problem, right? Let's see. What? Radio Baloney is anti-commie? I'm shocked. All right, we're going to do a fact check.
Fact check.
Okay. All right, hold on one sec. Be right back. All right, so we're looking it up. Mid-course instead of, okay, so mid-course based on mid-course phase of missile defense, which is a well-known term in ballistic missile interception. Okay, what is mid-course? Mid-course phase is one of three stages in the flight of a ballistic missile alongside the boost phase when the missile's engines are firing and the terminal phase. In missile defense, mid-course interception involves detecting, tracking, and destroying the missile or its warhead during the coasting period. The U.S. employs ground-based mid-course defense systems for this purpose, using ground-based interceptors launched from sites in Alaska and California. These interceptors release an exo-atmospheric kill vehicle designed to collide with the target in space, relying on kinetic energy rather than explosives. Is mid-course a viable way to intercept ICBMs? The viability of mid-course interception is a subject of intense debate with both technical successes and significant challenges. Let's break it down. Evidence of viability. Operational system. GMD is the only U.S. system specifically designed to protect the homeland from ICBMs, with 44 interceptors deployed as of 2025. 44 right now. So if there is a launch with the intention of, a mutually assured destruction launch, okay, that's not 44 missiles. That's not 44 ICBMs, right? 44. That's not going to stop the nuclear holocaust. Let's see. Challenges. Countermeasures. Mid-course interception faces a major hurdle. Decoys and penetration aids. In space, lightweight decoys, balloons, or chaff can mimic a warhead's trajectory, confusing interceptors. Unlike the terminal phase, where atmospheric reentry burns off most decoys, the mid-course phase offers no such filtering. A 2022 American Physical Society study argued that the U.S. systems like GMD remain unreliable against even a few ICBMs with simple countermeasures. Test limitations. Critics point out that GMD tests are highly scripted. Targets follow predictable paths, and decoys, if used, are basic. Real-world scenarios with sophisticated adversaries, example, Russia or China, could involve multiple warheads, MIRVs. The MIRVs are terrifying because they just release a whole bunch of them, right? Then you're really fucked. or hypersonic maneuvers, none of which GMD has consistently countered in testing. 57% success rate. They've got 44 of them. 57% success rate. Hope you like your nuclear holocaust. I mean, that's it, right? No, there's no way to stop it. Once the button is pressed, it's over. That's lights out. That's not going to do anything. But I thank you for pointing it out. Let's see. Radio Streamer says, how many ads did I miss? You've missed 0 ads. But you know what? That's a good point. What do we got going? Let's see. How about this one? Ooh, $1.20. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator, like me. They didn't censor or have biases, and I thank them for that. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID. Oh, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. More like woke book, if you ask me. Rumble did not. They didn't act like a bunch of dirty, filthy commies. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France and Brazil. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. They prefer commies for some reason. I don't know why. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. I did myself. The water's great. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Human right, it's the most important one. Rumble is offering $10 off. I don't know how they get away with this. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO. STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. That's $10 right there. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause and you're not a communist, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. Ah, that's sweet, sweet, sweet first ad. Sweet first ad. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see. Jesse says, how many of them does Russia have? Putin ain't doing shit. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Putin doesn't have any of, well, very few of them anyway, although we don't really know who has what. I mean, it's possible that the U.S. could have something that's effective. I mean, I suppose it's not an impossible engineering task, or maybe it is. I don't know. It's just that there's no way, there's nothing that's at least known, unless there's something that's just been kept totally secret. But you're right. I mean, yeah, Russia would be screwed too, but you know, insane things can happen, right? As long as those things exist, right? They have a purpose, right? There is somebody with them right now waiting to press the button. It's not something that I think we should be cavalier about. But I mean, it's highly unlikely, yes, right? It's not something I want to be cavalier about. I don't want our leaders to be cavalier about it. Let's see. G-Flat saying, I keep ending up behind due to lag. It seems not everybody's getting the lag is the thing, which is weird. I don't know what's going on with that. As of them says, done. Good night, all you warriors. Good night, as of them. Thanks for stopping in. See you next time. All right. Let's see. Turtle's saying something about aliens. I don't know what's going on there. Jesse says, "Copy hate. Copy hate." Streamer, you ask and you shall receive the almighty ad read. It's true, radio streamer. Rosie gave me a review here. So, ad, nice enthusiasm, excellent, commie hate, Rumble Premium for a special Radio Baloney shows every month. Good job, 10 out of 10. Thank you very much, Rosie. And it's a good time to mention that, so I'm going to be doing, now that I'm part of this, I've been accepted into this Rumble Creator Program. 30 hours a month. I have to do 30 hours a month of live streams, which I do easily anyway. I do way more than that. But I've got to include 5 hours of that as premium only. I might do some tomorrow night. I might just try it out tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, probably do it on Monday night. And I don't know what we do. Maybe make it a special one or something. But I don't want it to eat into like the regular live stream time. So Friday night, Monday, Sundays, and Tuesdays. We'll do it on a different night than that. But apparently I can make some more money doing that and grow the channel or something. I don't know. Radio Streamer says, anti-communist hatred in an ad and a solution to engage in free speech with commie hate. 9.8 out of 10 acceptable levels of commie hate. Well, thank you, Streamer. JDL says, very good ad read. Thank you very much. All right. JDL gave it a 9.5. Very well. Let's see. Jesse says, no one wants nuclear districting. Kind of Monkey says, it was so smooth, I didn't even know I was being advertised to. Well, that's my secret. Let's see. Nawada says, 9.5 out of 10. He's done better. I set a high standard for myself. I'll admit that. Let's see. Destruction, Jesse said. Let me reread what he said. Jesse says, no one wants nuclear destruction. I didn't know what you were meaning there. I thought that was some term that I should know, and I didn't, and I was embarrassed, frankly. Embarrassed for myself. But you meant destruction. Yes, we don't want that. Radio Streamer says, wait, do I get extra karma for reminding you to start an ad read? Only if I actually start the ad read. So in that case, yes, you got some free good karma. Let's see. Rosie says, hey, Richie, you could stream on Sunday morning and preach it. LOL. Maybe. Jesse says 10 out of 10, although I'm frustrated with some Rumble things. Talking to Dan. Yeah, it's still, you know, it's still a work in progress, although it's gotten so much better. So much better. You know, while hold on a second. While I'm on the chat, I'm going to just check out the X stream and see. It seems to have been building a little bit. So now we're streaming. It's been building a little bit. So now we're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Locals, and X as well. So, and let me just. There we go. So I'm hoping the X stream will kind of pick up as we go, but we'll have to see. We haven't been doing it very long, and this is only like the 6th or 7th one we've done, I think. All right. G Flood says, any news on the tariff war? Supposed to be 25% on the EU on April 2nd. Well, the numbers are kind of all over the place. It looks like right now, April 4th. Or sorry, not April 4th, March 4th. Although, I mean, that's likely to change again. This is all a part of a negotiating strategy. And we will see what happens. I mean, some tariffs will remain, right? Because, you know, Trump is correct in saying that there are some unfair trade practices. That's just a fact. Holy crap. Holy crap. Turtles. Turtles is the best person ever. That's 5 smackaroons from Turtles. Best person ever, Turtles. Best person ever. It's a special place to be on. You know how many people there are on the planet? There's like, I don't know, like, was it 8 or 9 billion people now? To be the best of all of them, the top of that heap, and for only $5, I say it's worth it, every single penny. Thank you for appealing to my grade. It's the only thing that makes me happy. That's not true. Although it does make me happy. I will say that. All right. That's the kind of treatment you get on Radio Baloney when you donate. Let's see. Jesse says, never be embarrassed, Richie. Even if you're wrong, you did your best. Well, that's true. I am trying my best. My one thing is that I always try to tell the truth. I never intentionally lie about anything because I believe the truth will set you free. That doesn't mean that I haven't been wrong. I have been, and I've admitted it on the channel before as well. Everybody is wrong sometimes. That's the thing. Let's see. But anyway, on the tariff war, yeah, we're looking at March 4th if things don't change. I know for Canada, that's coming up. So we're going to get into all of that stuff in a little bit. Let's move on. We just spent an hour and 40 minutes on the first story. So I'm going to have a great time trying to clip that one. Let's see. Washington Post staffers are in open rebellion against Jeff Bezos. So what's going on with Jeff Bezos? Let's take a look. So Jeff Bezos, obviously the head of, he owns Amazon, super gajillionaire. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. And under his ownership, the Washington Post has been what it's always been, which is a biased left-wing rag, essentially. A propaganda machine. That's apparently going to change. Jeff Bezos says, I shared this note with the Washington Post team this morning. He said, I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We are going to be writing every day in support and defense of 2 pillars, personal liberties and free markets. Really? This is something very, very interesting. This is that sea change that's happening right now. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. Now, why any newspaper, why any journalist would want to oppose personal liberties and free markets is beyond me. I mean, particularly the personal liberties part, like free speech. Of course, we find ourselves in an age where there seems to be almost unanimity amongst, the elite journalist class in absolutely despising free speech, their own right to dissent. Bizarre, is it not? So you'd think this would be something welcome for the Washington Post staff, although I guess they are all authoritarian leftist commies. So then they wouldn't. So he says, yes, we'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. Yes, communists. There was a time when a newspaper, especially one that was a local monopoly, might have seen it as a service to bring to the reader's doorstep every morning a broad-based opinion section that sought to cover all views. Today, the internet does that job, but let's not pretend that the Washington Post was doing that job. Let's not pretend that at all, right? Obviously, it wasn't. It was propaganda, leftist propaganda. I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical, and a big part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion, and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. This is all obvious, right? This is obvious. I mean, it's actually weird that this would need to be said, that actually this course would need to be taken by Jeff Bezos, right? That he would need to steer this newspaper away from authoritarian leftism. I offered David Shipley, whom I greatly admire, the opportunity to lead this new chapter. I suggested to him that if the answer wasn't hell yes, then it had to be no. After careful consideration, David decided to step away. This is a significant shift. It won't be easy, and it will require 100% commitment. I respect his decision. I respect his decision. I respect his decision. We'll be searching for a new opinion editor to own this new direction. I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America. Of course, obviously, that's what it's built on. Why does that even need to be said? I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and news opinion. I'm excited for us together to fill that void, Jeff. So, this David Shipley has turned it down because I guess he's opposed to personal liberties. Which actually isn't even surprising anymore. I mean, that's the default now for the modern journalist, for the modern editor. It's fairly shocking. Who was this David? Who was this David Shipley? Let's see. An American journalist and book author. He was executive editor of the New Republic, leftist from 1992 to 1995, worked at the New York Times from 1998 to 2010. The Stalin apologists, the New York Times. I mean, their propaganda work goes back, like 100 years, literally. Their communist, their totalitarian communist dictator apologetics goes back 100 years. It's incredible. Let's see. Executive editor of Bloomberg View, no surprise. Served as editorial editor at the Washington Post. So, yes, this guy obviously is not going to be in favor of, what was it again? Oh, yes, personal liberties. Personal liberties. No, in good conscience, I can't support personal liberties. What universe are we living in? It's so weird that it's come to this. It's so strange that it's come to this. Absolutely not. Well, I personally am not in favor of personal liberties. No, and certainly not free markets. I'm a communist. I'm an authoritarian communist. I like Stalin. I'd like the United States to be run by somebody like Stalin. Absolutely no. I have to say no, sir. No, sir. I will not be the opinion page editor. Not if it's going to be for supporting things like personal liberties. That's fascism or something. I mean, how would I know? I'm just a journalist. What a weird world we live in. What a strange world that we live in. Personal liberties? Absolutely not. Unbelievable. All right. Yeah. Ranch juice. Raider Streamer says, celebrate the dance of they, them energy, then disappear into the bushes in shame, as it is most hated, LOL. Well, now that you mention they, them energy.
They, them energy. They, them energy. They, them energy. They, them energy.
It's catchy. It's catchy. Don't mention they, them energy to me, or else you know what's coming. Raider Streamer says it just perfectly encapsulates. It's just perfect. What is wrong with my brain and my mouth? It just perfectly encapsulates something. I'm not sure what, but it needs to be a meme for the ages. See, this is what I'm saying. There's something about it that I'm fascinated by. There's something hidden. There's something deeper. There's some deeper meaning to they, them energy, the they, them energy clip. And I'm going to find it. I'm going to express it somehow. G Flood's out. Good night. Got to sleep now. Well, it is probably late where you are. Anyway, good to see you, G Flood. See you next time. Let's see. Rosie says he played it incessantly, lost Spambot, and was not ashamed at all. All right. I'll put on something for the lads. Just a classic noodle making video. So hypnotic, though. We haven't really watched the noodle cooking video for a while, and I have to say, it really is. It's calming, isn't it? There's something hypnotic and mesmerizing about it. I just find it relaxing. Let's see. Radio Streamer says, I want to write a script and get a voice actor for the crowd responding. They're super into it. Let's see. No, I'm not doing that. Jesse says, they are insane and it's kind of beautiful. Ivana just says noodles. Noodles, I know. Classics are good. You're right. Rosie says, the deeper meaning is the karma. Notice your enunciation problems did not begin until that awful energy. Just saying, you might be right. Maybe I need to stay away from that. Maybe it's got, maybe it has terrible energy. It's poisoning me. I don't know. Let's see. Rosie says, no more bad energy. They, them, energy. It's weird. There's something hidden there. There's some jewel of meaning hidden in that somewhere. I don't know where. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. All right. Well, I think we might just cut off the YouTube part of this right now. What are we, 2 hours in? Yeah, so we're going to continue on Rumble. Anybody watching on YouTube right now, we'll continue on Rumble. There's always like way more people on Rumble. We always have a good crowd on Rumble. The chat you can see on the screen is all Rumble chat. So join us over there. The water's great. I cut it off early on YouTube because there's always some sort of back end problem with these and censorship issues. So I value you. Know you are valued. But I hope that you will come and watch the rest of the stream on Rumble, or you can watch it on X or Locals as well. But the YouTube portion of this is going to end right now. So thank you very much for showing up. Subscribe and also like the stream, and come join us on Rumble now. Talk to you later.